Fine, really. Can everyone hear me okay? The back, good, okay. So hi, my name's Ben, I work for NCC Group. Apologies first of all for my voice being a little bit raspy, combination of coming over a bit of a nasty cold, but also discovering on Saturday night that I'm actually never going to be a singer, which is probably for the best. But talking of singers and ladies who can hold a tune, Mariah Carey. And as she famously once sung, all I want for Christmas is for third parties to never block my web performance experience. Who knew that she was such an advocate for web performance? But on the topic of third parties, there are quite a lot of them, and she has got a point. There are a lot of companies out there that do profess to be adding something valuable to someone's website. The breadth of companies that are vying for the site owner's attention is quite frankly breathtaking. You have got people who profess to make you more money by bringing advertising onto sites. You've got people who want to track people through analytics. You've got people who want to just bring more experience and richness to your site, and that's all awesome, and that's really good. But, you know, are they really still a problem? I mean, it's 2017, for God's sake. Why is Mariah still getting upset about this? Haven't we fixed this problem with asynchronous delivery mechanisms and with tag management solutions? Well, maybe, but there must be a reason why the majority of the attendees who came to our web performance event earlier in the year all raised the issue of third-party tags, how they were affecting their site's performance, and how they really wanted some assistance in dealing with it. One thing I also wanted to do to title this slide with was where are all of the women? But I think the door is going to address that later on because it is a bit of an obvious one that's lacking from there. But I also ran a survey recently to our customer base, and they're predominantly UK-based retailers, on the subject of third-party tags and what issues they were having with them. And whilst some of their views sort of resonated with us quite a lot because of our experiences of working with them, there were still quite a few eyebrow-raising moments. But maybe Mariah is different. She knows that poor-performing third parties affect her performances. Of mariahcarey.com, tickets available for a winter show. But maybe that's why her site doesn't contain any third parties. It still performs really poorly, though. If you want to go and have a look at it, it's not awesome. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. So we all agree, I think, that Mariah is definitely a businesswoman. And like many of her business colleagues, she is largely responsible for the management of third-party tags on her site. So she's the one that's doing the requesting that these things get added. And you can see, you might be able to see from here, but broadly, it's e-commerce, it's marketing types that are requesting that these third parties are added onto the site. But her IT colleagues know that poorly performing scripts are going to impact web performance. But they are also the ones that are actually adding the tags in the first place. So roughly 55% or so. However, the big question here is, do any of them actually know how important those tags are? I mean, if they're on the site in the first place, then surely somebody understands the value that's associated with them. However, approximately 60% of the people had no clue. So that could actually be closer to 80% if the I don't knows actually turn out to be a bit more honest and said no. So to clarify, the majority of people who are adding tags to a site don't know the value of what they're adding. Only a quarter of them actually understand the value. But quite frankly, if Mariah doesn't understand the value of her tags, who does? What hope have the rest of us got? So maybe it demonstrates a lack of leadership and strategy. Well, potentially, half of the people who responded to the survey admitted that they don't have a tagging strategy. And about a quarter of them said that they didn't know if their organization had one. So are we potentially then saying that some site owners don't know why they're adding a tag to their site, that they also don't know the value of it? It's enough to make Mariah very, very sad. But let's get back to some web performance basics, okay? Why should she be concerned about this? How much of a problem is it actually? So I mentioned that Mariah is actually doing all right with regards to third parties, tickets available, but generally performance isn't great, and that's not what I want to focus on. Who'd have imagined everyone's favorite Christmas crooner has also got an album out? I love a bit of Buble at Christmas, it's brilliant. But I hear you cry, how does it perform, Ben? Are there any third parties on there? Well, it's not awesome. I mean, there's a good chance that he's got some very loyal followers that will be prepared to wait for the 4 seconds odd for some content to actually start being delivered back to them, and that's fair enough. And, oh look, some of his business folk have added one of those exciting third-party tags to the site. Now, this one's called Optimizely, and they do multivariate stuff. So a quick word on that, if nobody's sure about what that is. It's a way of the site owner testing multiple variations of content on the site. So you've heard of A/B testing, where you can see whether the blue version converts better than the red version. Well, this is all about ensuring that there are multiple versions that can be checked and tested. To be able to do that, though, it has to stop the content being downloaded and actually make a decision about what content should be loaded onto the site next. What that means is it introduces itself as a single point of failure on the site. Now, you've probably also seen videos like this being played before, so here's another one. The example on the left is the normal site, someone's experience trying to buy a Michael Bublé CD. On the right-hand side is what happens when, well, I'll get my mouse over that side, there we go. On the right-hand side is what happens if Optimizely was to be having a bit of a bad day. So they might have disappeared off the internet entirely. They might just be really, really slow. There's lots of reasons they could be really slow. Lots of people use Optimizely after all. So on the left-hand side, my page is just about loaded now, and I can buy my Michael Bublé merch, my lovely pink coffee cup, which is awesome. I don't have that yet. But on the right-hand side, you can see it's taking a long time to load, and that's going to vary depending on operating systems. I think Windows is slightly different to Mac and Linux-based systems, but the concepts are the same, that there's no activity happening because this single piece of code is blocking the site. But enough of picking on Optimizely, which is becoming a bit of a national sport around here. Let's think about someone else. So how about a retailer selling Christmas CDs? Because apparently I think people still buy CDs. Without tags, that site is roughly 2 seconds faster for the retailer to display the hero image. And for the full page load with complete functionality, it's about 3 seconds faster. But so what, says Mariah? I'm a business lady. I want to know that this performance thing, it's all well and good, but actually, if I'm spending a lot of money implementing tags, I want to make sure that I've got a really good return on investment. So how can she actually calculate that return on investment? In order to do that, we need a bit of crystal ball time, okay? So we have a real user monitoring solution. It's got a performance impact prediction service in it. There are other crystal balls available. Other solutions have got the similar types of things. The principle here is that we can take the page load duration, and then we can make some predictions to say, well, if we got it a bit faster, if the site got a bit faster, what would happen to those important business metrics? The conversion rates, the bounce rates, the money, okay? So what we've got is some metrics here, which are for a vaguely similar retailer. These don't just sell CDs, but the pattern that we've seen are pretty similar. So they've got the current performance figures here and the current revenue figures. And then we've got what happens when we introduce a performance improvement. So we're suggesting that if these people make a roughly 2 second improvement, that they're going to make approximately £4 million more during that period if their site had been 2 seconds faster. So fundamentally, that means that if Mariah did know the value of her third-party tags, she could now decide if it was worth keeping them on there with the associated ancillary costs of maintenance, etc., or whether she should just remove them. But how can we prove that's accurate? Okay, so we've been working closely with the retailer for the last 6 months or so, and we use this service to predict an improvement in performance, but actually make a significant improvement in conversion figures, and quite thankfully, we weren't wrong. So we helped them to identify that one of their social sentiment tags, Bizarre Voice in this case, was causing performance problems for Android users. And so we told them that if they removed Bizarre Voice, it would improve Android times by 4 seconds. So again, it's not bad, right? What that actually meant was a 20% revenue increase for that particular segment over a year. That's millions of pounds for this particular retailer, just simply by removing one small third-party tag. So Mariah has proven the value of performant third-party tags. I think it's fair to say Mariah is on fire. But how widespread is that view, though? Well, from the survey, about 70% of people also wanted to know if their tags were causing their site to slow down or fail. And this was above security, data leakage, or the question of actually what tags were on the site. And all right, there's a little bit of audience bias in there because we asked a performance audience. But the principle is that the performance of third-party tags was important. But what we really wanted to know also was what they were actually doing about it, okay? So how important is it to keep that performance in check? So we, in technology at least, all understand the value of a performance KPI, but over 50% of our survey said that they don't have performance or availability SLAs on their key tags. So that means that site owners have potentially got no way of controlling their third parties. They can be doing all of the tricks in the book to make their sites go faster, but still be being hampered by other people. So what has Mariah taught us? She's taught us to understand the value of what you're adding to your site. If you don't know the value of something, then maybe it shouldn't be there. She's taught us to experiment, take it off, see if the site gets faster, see what type of improvement you get. Maybe there really is something in this whole web performance thing. She's also taught us, don't underestimate the Mariah. Thanks very much.